Welcome to lesson 20, which is interest. So there's just a couple terms I want to talk about before we get into the actual math, and the first one is just basic interest. And I know we've talked about interest before, but that was in the terms of if you borrow money, whether it be from a bank or a credit card or whatever, you paid interest on money you borrowed. Well, now we're going to talk about interest in a positive way. So if you deposit money into an account, right, the bank pays you interest for allowing them to use your money, basically. So now we're talking about good interest. So let's get ourselves a positive, yay, jacked up smiley face there. So the two types of interest that we're going to talk about is simple interest and compound interest. Now, simple interest is more of a basic discussion interest type than an actual use in the real world. So the basic thing of simple interest, and you will see this on page 177, but the formula for simple interest is interest equals PRT, where P is the principal. So principal is what you start with, and then the rate is usually given as a percent, but remember we need to take that percent and change it to a decimal, and then T stands for time, and usually time is in years. So this simple formula, PRT, will give us the amount of interest we earn on that account. Now with simple interest, you only earn interest on your beginning amount, which is the principal. That is different from compound interest. In compound interest, the formula, which we'll get to here more in a few minutes, but B stands for balance. So balance at the end of your investment time is the principal times 1 plus the rate raised to the time. So the same PR and T that you see in simple interest, but used a little differently. So principal is still the amount we start with, rate is the percent that we will change to a decimal, and T is the time that we have in years. Notice that in compound interest, the formula gives you the ending balance, whereas in simple interest, the main formula gives you the interest. So let's play with some of these, and let's go back to page 177. So that is where we're going to get our first problems. Okay, the top part of page 177 talks about a deposit of $1,000 earning simple interest of 4% per year. So in part A, how much interest would be earned in 3 years? Well, remember, interest is principal times rate times time. So our principal, the amount we started with, is $1,000. Our rate is 4%. So remember, 4% is the same as 0.04 as a decimal. So we multiply by our decimal, and then T for years. This is 3 years. So if I multiply 1,000 times 0.04 times 3, my interest that I will earn in 3 years is $120. Now the balance after 3 years, well, remember, the balance is what we started with plus the interest that we earned. So after 3 years, we will now have $1,120 in our account. Letters C and D we will do together. So we're talking about 10 years, same principal and the same rate. So interest is 1,000 times 0.04, and this time we have 10 years. So when I do that, I get interest of $400. Now to find my balance, I will take my initial principal of $1,000, add that to my interest, and my ending balance will be $1,400. Simple interest is linear. You earn the same amount of interest every year. So notice how in part A, $120 over 3 years, that's $40 per year. And if you looked at the example above letters A through D, you will see how they figured out $40 per year for simple interest in this problem. All right, I would like you now on page 177 to go ahead and answer questions. So you now hit pause and answer questions 1 through 3, and then come back and see how you did. This problem can actually be done 2 different ways. But the first one, how much interest do you earn each year on a deposit of $2,000 earning 3.5% interest? So, interest for 1 year, well, interest is principal, which is $2,000, times the rate. Move the decimal 2 places, so 0.035 times year. And if you're only talking about 1 year, then we multiply by 1. And when we multiply those together, we will get an interest for 1 year of $70. Now, when you're looking at number 2 with how much interest after 10 years, you can do it 2 ways. So the first way would just be say, well, in number 1, I found it $70 in 1 year. So if I multiply that by 10, I would get $700 in 10 years. And if you didn't see that, that's okay, because you know the formula for interest. You know that interest is principal times the rate times the time. And if the time is 10 years, we just multiply that by 10. If you multiply those three numbers together, you will also end up with $700. So if you know the amount of interest per year, you can do these problems in a little bit different of a way. Now in number 3, what's your balance after 10 years? Okay, so remember, balance is initial, your principal, plus the interest, and my ending balance is $2,700. Okay, on page 178, we get into compound interest. So remember, the formula for compound interest is ending balance is the principal times 1 plus the rate raised to the time. And I want to use the same principal of 1,000 interest rate of 4% that we did on page 177. And let's just use this example. This one is not, I guess it's in your book kind of, but they don't explain it very well, so it's okay if you don't see a spot for this on page 178. But using this formula, we are trying to find the ending balance, which is B. We know our principal is what we started with, which is $1,000. Our rate is 4%, so that's 0.04. The time is 2. So here's our formula, and depending on your calculator, some of your calculators will allow you to type it in just like you see it, and that's fine. Others of your calculators maybe require a little bit more finesse. So just remember your order of operations. So when you go to do your order of operations, right, we go inside the parentheses first. So I will still have 1,000 times 1.04 raised to the second power. And now I have to do my exponent. And when I take 1.04 raised to the second power, I get 1.0816. Don't round. This is a terminating decimal, so go ahead and take it out all 4 decimal places to get a better answer. And now in our last step, we simply multiply by 1,000, and we find our ending balance to be $1,081.60. Now, if you recall back to our simple interest, we were earning $40 a year. So after 2 years, 40 times 2 is 80, we would only have made $80 in interest, where now, hopefully you see, we started with $1,000, so this $81.60 is the interest. Okay, now I want you to look at page 178. There's a nice table on there. Okay, so here on page 178, we've got a table going 1 through 7 years, and then the formulas are all set up for you. Notice each one is consistent with the $1,000 for our principal. Inside the parentheses is consistent with 1 plus our rate of 4%. Notice the only thing that really changes is our exponents. So I'd like you to go ahead. Well, notice that we just did year 2. So we did the formula where we found the balance of $1,081.60, as you see here. And then if you want to find the actual interest, you take the ending balance minus your beginning balance, which is your principal, and that will leave you with the interest. So at this time, I would like you to hit pause and go ahead and finish 3 through 7. When you're done, go ahead and hit play and see if your answers for balance and interest match up with mine here in this table. So go ahead and get to work. All right, you now see the nice red-green combination of numbers here to give our total balances as well as our total interest. So remember, that was simple interest. Our interest was $40 every year, so it was consistent. Well, now you can see here in year 1 we had $40 of interest. In year 2 we had $81.60. So that was a difference of $41.60. So that's a little bit different. Then we went to $124.86. Well, that's more than $40, right? It's a little bit more than 40. So every time our value of interest increases by a little bit. And that is the big difference between simple interest and compound interest. Simple interest, remember, is only calculated on your beginning principal, whereas every year in compound interest, so, okay, in this example, year 1, you end up with $1,040, right? The interest was figured off of that initial $1,000. Well, then in year 2, Now you have $1,040 in your account. So when the math is happening in the bank, let's say we're dealing with a bank, is figuring your interest, now they're calculating your interest over the $1,040. So you have an extra $40 drawing interest. So because your balance has increased, your interest is going to increase, right? The more you have in your account, the more interest you're going to earn. And that's why you can see, here in year 7, from 6 to 7, we have over $50 of interest. Whereas in simple interest, it doesn't matter what year you're talking about, it's always 40. So as we would continue, past year 7, 8, 9, it would continue to grow and our interest would continue to become more. So you can see why you would rather have your bank paying you compound interest because you are going to earn more over the cost or over the lifetime of your loan. Or not loan. We're not dealing with loans. Your investment, throwing money into the bank. I apologize for that slip up there. Let's go to page 179. Okay, at the top of page 179, you'll see questions 2 and 3. I challenge you to hit pause and try to answer these 2 before you watch the explanation, but that's really up to you. All right, so I talked about these questions kind of in general, but now let's look at them specifically and let's quantify our answers. So in number 2, how much interest was earned during the second year? Not including the interest earned in the first year. If you go back to this table, when you look at the interest column, these totals are interest total up to that point. So if we want to find the interest that was only earned in year 2, we will take our total for year 2 and subtract all of the interest previously. So we would say, well, we earned $81.60 in total interest through year 2, but let's take away the $40 from year 1. And that means in year 2, we earned $41.60, right? That's what we earned during year 2. Now, how much more is this than the first year? Well, if you earned $41.60 in year 2 and you earned $40 in year 1, that means you earned an additional $1.60 just because of your interest from the first year. Right, so that was in addition to what you made the previous year. Or I should say earned, you didn't make the money. But so that's kind of the concept that we're looking at. Now in number 3, it gets a little bit more confusing. So how much interest was earned during the 7th year? Well, if you look at the totals, you earned a total of $315.93 in interest through the first 7 years. Well, if you want to know just the 7th year, you'll take that total and subtract everything before. So when you look, everything before is years 1 through 6. So I will just look at my 1 through 6, and that total was $265.32. Right? Okay, so remember, this is years 1 through 7. This is years 1 through 6. If you subtract them, the only thing you have left is year 7, because this one is the same as 1 through 6 plus 7, if you can think of it that way. So when you subtract, these go away, and I'm just left with 7. So when I subtract these, I end up with an interest amount of $50.61. So in year 7, I am making $50.61 in interest. So how much more is that than the first year? Well, if you remember, you only earned $40 in interest that first year. So this is year 7 of interest. This is year 1 of interest. You earned $10.61 more cents in year 7. And remember, you're not doing anything with this money. It is sitting in the bank, and you earn an extra $10.61 this year just because your balance continues to grow due to this compound interest. So let's call that it for video number 1, and we'll pick up on page 179 here in video 2.